Every major ancient civilization was obsessed with one planet, Mars. They built temples aligned to it. They tracked its movement with impossible precision. They wrote about it like they had seen it up close. But here's what makes no sense. These civilizations were separated by oceans. They had no contact with each other. And yet, they all described Mars the same way. Not as a distant planet, but as a dying world, a world that once had life and then lost it. The question that changes everything is simple. How did ancient civilizations, Egypt, Mesopotamia, Mesoamerica, and India, all describe Mars with the same level of detail without ever being connected, not just as a star, but as a place, a world with history? Modern science tells us Mars is dead, cold, empty, and uninhabitable, but we've only known that for about a century. So how did ancient cultures describe it? As a fallen world thousands of years ago. The Sumerians called it Nergal, the planet of war and destruction, a world that had fallen silent. The Egyptians aligned temples to its exact position in the sky. The Mayans tracked its cycles with mathematical precision that shouldn't have been possible without advanced tools. So how did they know all of this? The official explanation is simple: coincidence. Ancient people watched the sky. They created myths, and sometimes those myths lined up, but that explanation starts to fall apart when you look closer, because this wasn't random. The patterns are too consistent, the knowledge is too specific. It feels less like imagination and more like memory. Now here's where things get strange. The Sumerian king list describes rulers who lived 4,000 of years before a great flood. After the flood, lifespans suddenly dropped to normal human levels. Historians call this myth, but what if it's not? What if it's a record of two different environments, one where humans lived longer and one where they didn't? And what if Mars was that first environment? When researchers analyzed ancient star charts, they found something impossible. Some of these charts map the sky as it appeared over 10,000 years ago with extreme accuracy that shouldn't exist without advanced instruments or a different vantage point. Because from Earth, some of these alignments don't make sense, but from Mars, they do. Now look at the Great Pyramid. Its internal shafts align with specific stars. That part is known. But what's rarely discussed is that some alignments match Mars' position on key ancient dates. Not randomly, but deliberately. It's as if the builders were recording something, marking something, trying to preserve a memory. The Mayans show the same pattern. The Dresden Codex tracks planetary cycles with precision that suggests data collected over thousands of years. But that raises a problem. Humans didn't have that much recorded observation time, unless those records didn't start on Earth. Ancient Hindu texts describe flying machines, vimanas. They describe wars in the sky. They describe a world becoming uninhabitable, forcing people to leave. And they describe arriving on a blue world below. The symbolism is obvious, but the pattern is consistent. Egyptian mythology tells the same story. Osiris arrives from another world, brings knowledge, teaches civilization, and then disappears. What if these aren't myths? What if they're distorted records? Now connect this to what we already know. Mars once had water, a thicker atmosphere, and conditions capable of supporting life. Modern probes have confirmed this. They've also detected methane spikes, something that shouldn't exist without active processes. NASA says it's geological, but even that explanation isn't fully understood. Now look at the timeline. Mars becomes uninhabitable, and around the same period, civilization suddenly appears on Earth. The Sumerians don't evolve slowly. They appear with writing, mathematics, and astronomy already developed. The Egyptians show the same pattern. Advanced knowledge from the very beginning, but it doesn't look like a starting point. It looks like a continuation. What if, around 5,000 years ago, a civilization didn't begin on Earth? It arrived here, a population escaping a dying planet, bringing knowledge, technology, and structure. They become rulers, pharaohs, priest-kings, the gods of early civilization. They preserve their bloodlines, they pass down knowledge, and they build monuments, not just to worship, but to remember. That's why different civilizations share the same symbols, the same structures, and the same understanding of the cosmos, not because they copied each other, but because they came from the same origin. And if that's true, then everything changes, because it means Mars wasn't just a planet, it was home, and Earth was the escape.